Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where my wife and I remodel our kitchen in our new house. We're going for a mid-century modern transitional Scandinavian style. So we started off by taking off the old backsplash. I was just using like one of those paint tools and a hammer and popping everything off. I put a towel down here, like a blanket, over the new stove so we didn't get any marks on it or anything like that. But then all of a sudden I noticed that I smelled something weird, and then I turned the blanket over just to see that it was caught on fire. So be careful when you guys are doing DIY projects, because anything like that can happen and it could really put a damper on any projects that you guys are doing. So here I was taking off that backsplash part 2. I think it was like 3 inches or something like that above the countertop. Now I'm scraping off all the old loose drywall that came off too when taking off the tile. I noticed that there were some holes too in the drywall as well, so I'm going to go back through after we sand it. That's my wife sanding it down, making it all smooth, so we can go back in there and fill in all those holes and put in some mesh over there, so the mortar that we're going to use will stick to the wall better and it'll be more level when we do all that. So definitely recommend using a shop vac too, and a filter on your sander if you have it. That part can be a little messy, and trying to clean up the mess while you're doing DIY projects will really save you time in the end, so you don't have to clean up more stuff when you're finished with your project. So now she's taping off the oven so we don't get any paint on there. This is like some sort of almost like a sealer to seal off the drywall. The exposed drywall piece that didn't have like the skin on it, that actual white part. So this mortar or this filling that we use, I think it's spackle, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but just using that to fill in those gaps, make everything level, again, so that mortar will fit more level, and the tile will come out level as well. This part didn't take too long. It was more so just making sure that everything, again, was level, and going over it a few times just to once it was dry, if there was any low spots, to go back over that to make sure everything was filled in. So now here we are ripping off the old countertop. We were going to reuse that sink, but then we just ended up buying a new sink because they were on sale at Home Depot, because with the new countertops we're going to undermount it, and it was just going to be easier if we just bought a new sink, because the countertop place needed the sink to create a cutout for the new countertop, so we didn't want to be without a sink for like 2 weeks or something like that. I think the lead time was. This is our little dachshund. Her name's Vienna. She's really curious to see where we were going. We were going out to the garage to put the countertop in there. Here's the second piece that we were taking out. Now, when we first originally bought the house, we noticed that there was some sort of like warpage underneath the sink, so we think that there may have been a leak or something like that. We weren't too concerned about it because our house is newly built, so we knew that if there was any sort of leak, it wouldn't have gotten too bad. So now I'm just ripping out that area. I think it was like MDF board or like some sort of particle board, so any sort of moisture that got on it, it absorbed it like a sponge and it warped it out. So here I am taking everything out, vacuuming it up. We also have a reverse osmosis system that sits down there as well, so it is a little tight. It's a nice space, but it's a little tight to fit everything, so there's just a little bit of drawback. But anyways, here I am creating a template from cardboard. I just traced and mapped the opening on the top end, just kind of did like a rough measure, and then I'm just gonna put it in there in the see if it will fit all the way in the bottom. And the measurement, it looked like it was pretty good, so I was just gonna use that and create an outline on our plywood that we used. The template was a little small, so I added a 1/2 inch on one of the sides so it would have more of a snug fit once we put it in. And luckily enough, I was able to put it in one time, and it was the right size, so we're good there. I'm nailing that plywood into the other, like I think 2x4s or something like that, 1x3s. I can't remember exactly what they were, but just to hold it in place. And then we wanted to do the same thing again, so we put some sealer, the same sealer that we used on the wall to hold the drywall in, on these pieces and everything that was in there, just so it would prevent it from absorbing any moisture as well. And then we actually used one of the paint colors that we were going to paint the cabinets with for underneath that area. It was a little bit of a lighter green, so it came out nice. And now here are the countertop people installing the countertops and then the undermount sink. Here I am. Once we filled in all of those holes again, I wanted to sand everything down flat. So we waited to do this until we had the countertop on there, so none of that, the debris and the dust and anything would go on to the stuff that was in the cabinets, because those countertops are basically the barrier between stuff that was in the cabinets, because there's no top on it. So now I just installed the reverse osmosis dispenser, then our faucet. Right now I'm realizing that we never recorded the installing of the tile, so we just did everything ourselves. We used a laser level, super easy. I know tile scares a lot of DIYers, but it's super easy. Don't be afraid to do it. Then we went with a white grout. In our previous house, there were some tile in there that were white and the grout was gray, and I feel like it kind of went out of style pretty quickly. So then we just wanted to go with a white on white to make it a little bit more modern and to make it just clean up the space. Now, after we put the grout in, we're going through and doing a wet sponge to take down all the high spots and to have the grout be a complete flush finish. This part was pretty quick, didn't take too much time. We just mixed the grout, threw it on there, let it sit for a couple minutes, and then we just washed it off. This is the last major step we had to do, just putting the fridge back into the kitchen. There were a couple odds and ends that we had to do, like touching up the paint where we scratched it and adding some caulk in between the backsplash and the cabinets. But other than that, this project is done. So here are the final results. The countertops are quartz. I think it's called Calcutta Vivo. Really happy with how they turned out. All Samsung bespoke appliances, the range, dishwasher, and the fridge. And then we have the gold hardware and everything else. So we're really happy with how everything turned out, really bringing this house up to more of a modern style. And there's going to be a lot more house projects coming with this house. So if you guys want to subscribe and leave a comment, see you then.